another week. It's another episode of the Centre Circle podcast. We've gone full 360 because we've gone from a packed house to just myself and Keith. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad. You right?
Yeah. Another interesting weekend. The Prem is back, and with it, lots of nonsense decisions and mistakes. And of course, we talked a lot about the England job last week.
We did.
And the FA went and made an interesting appointment. So we'll get to Thomas Tuchel's new job later on. But we're going to run through Liverpool versus Chelsea, Bournemouth's win at home to Arsenal, Wolves' last-minute defeat to City, Spurs' demolition of West Ham, and Brighton's smash and grab at St James's Park. And then we'll run through the rest of the scores as well.
Sweet.
So Liverpool-Chelsea, I didn't actually manage to see this one. Keith, I'm guessing you did.
Yeah.
Hence why you got your shirt on today.
Thought I'd take time out to watch it, you know.
Yeah, so Liverpool won at home 2-1 against Chelsea. Mo Salah with a penalty, Curtis Jones, the 51st minute. And that was kind of Nicholas Jackson got an sandwich in between those two, getting an equaliser for Chelsea. How did the match play out?
It's pretty even, to be fair. I think if the game had ended in a draw, I don't think either team could have been too disheartened with it. Chelsea had the better of the first, say, 20, 25 minutes of the game, which I was quite surprised about. It seemed to be like a tactical shift for Slot to let Chelsea have the ball. So,
especially at home.
Yeah, so when they had the ball, the press wasn't high. And I noticed it quite a fair bit when Madueke had the ball out on Chelsea right. Like Robertson wasn't really engaging much of him. And it might be because like the pace difference, kind of Madueke might be able to get behind him quite quick if there was if Robertson was too tight to him. But yeah, I guess I found that like an interesting tweak because like compared to all our other games that we've played, the press hasn't been super intense, but we've kind of put a bit more pressure on the opposition. But yeah, Chelsea had the ball and they used it quite well. Just getting into that final third, they didn't really have that many chances with it. I thought Lavia was really good today before he got taken off. And I think if they can get him to kind of 90 minutes match fit and he's playing constantly week in, week out, I think he's going to be the difference maker in their midfield. Yeah.
Because when Enzo comes back, you know where he's going.
So Enzo came on. Enzo was in the squad today. Enzo didn't start. So he started Lavia and Caicedo as like a two.
I just assumed, Caicedo would have been the same. I assumed that was a hangover from, South American games, etc.
Yeah,
like Diaz, etc. But Caicedo started.
Yeah, and Jackson started as well. He played 2 games. I know he didn't travel as far. But it'll be interesting to see how he works with that dynamic because you can't play all 3 of them, but you've got to play 2 of the 3.
And Maresca doesn't care, right? He picks who he thinks is gonna do whatever in the game. He doesn't seem to have regulars or favourites. You're doing well. If you're not doing well, I'll put someone else in.
That's it. So there was like a couple minutes just before Liverpool got the penalty where Liverpool kind of getting back in the game. We've spoken about Chelsea's defence. They started with Tosin and Colwill. And I literally said this to a Chelsea fan of mine. If Chelsea had a leading centre-back, they would be in a better position. But none of their centre-backs, they've got, 4 or 5 of them, none of them you consider a leading centre-back. It's just like 2 defenders who've kind of got to figure it out on their own on the pitch. And you saw that a little bit with Tosin and Colwill. So Colwill ends up giving away a penalty, like kicking Curtis Jones. He was a bit like, ref, what's going on? But if you look at the replay, it was clear. For how good he is, I'm always a little bit nervous when Mo takes a penalty. He's missed a couple over the years.
Yeah.
But he dispatched it pretty well. And yeah, we saw out the first half really well. Could have had another penalty, like it's 50-50, whether it could have been given or not. Sanchez was a bit rash.
He got lucky with that one, I think.
Yeah.
Looking at the highlights.
Yeah, I'm not like, when it wasn't given, I was like, fair enough, I'm not going to kind of be too disgruntled about it. So yeah, we go in 1-0 half-time, all good. But then, yeah, Chelsea come out the blocks, like flying, start of the second half, like they're controlling the ball. again, Lavia's dictating the pace, doing really well. And then Caicedo, good little play in the middle of the park, played it through to Jackson, who slots it past Kelleher. There was a flag for offside on the pitch, but VAR kind of said he was onside.
I mean, he literally, it's one of the most elementary runs. It wasn't a clever run. It was just straight through two defenders.
Yeah, it was just...
Reece James is just falling asleep.
No, I'm talking about for Jackson's goal.
Oh, sorry.
So
Yes.
what's his name? Kanate tried to step up and it was just a little bit too late, but it's fine.
It was a great finish.
Like I say, Chelsea didn't really offer too much and they didn't have a shot on target in the first half. So I'm like, right, 1-1, let's see how we can react. At that time, though, when Chelsea have scored, Maresca's already readying 3 subs to come on. So he's like, right, these are the changes I'm going to make. But before he gets to make that, Salah picks up the ball on the right-hand side and plays like a tremendous outside of the boot ball to Curtis Jones. And as you just said, Reece James, granted, it's his first game in a long time.
Bruv.
And you can see he
kind of steps up and puts his hand up like he's looking for offside. Yeah.
When he's not looking at the line. And fair play to him, like he's been out for a long time and it's a tough game to come back into.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit surprised that Maresca started him because Maresca said he's not going to give us more than 1 game a week moving forward.
Yeah.
And considering how well Gusto started this season, I know you kind of got to shuffle your pack, etc. But I would have started Gusto over James just because, you know what I mean? First game back at Anfield, yes, it's tough. And he got caught out for the
winning goal.
The winning goal. And then he makes the 3 subs, like he takes off Lavia, he takes off Tosin. And
James.
And James. And
what do you think about that? Sorry, just to jump in there. What do you think about that? I'm always a bit funny when centre backs are getting subbed if they're not, if they're not injured.
Yeah.
I just think it's not a slap in the face, but you're not playing very well, bro.
Yeah. And like he wasn't having a stinker. Like he got booked early. So if we go back to the start of the game, the ball gets played over the top for Jota, and he's tussling with Tosin.
Saliba-esque.
Tosin drags him down. And I know there were people out there saying, well, Saliba got sent off yesterday. Why wasn't it the same today? I think you've got to look at a bit of context. Jota wasn't as close to the goal as who was it yesterday? Running through. I can't remember the player.
I've forgotten his name.
Yeah. The Bournemouth attacker. And Cole was closer to the action as well. So I kind of understand why there's a debate, but if you look at it holistically, like it's not the same thing. But yeah, Tosin got booked early for that, so that could be why. And then so he makes that sub, and it gets messing up their flow a little bit. Like I said, Lavia was having a really good game, but he might not. He's just come back from an injury, can't do 90 minutes. Reece James can't do 90 minutes. But yeah, Chelsea had a few pot shots. Liverpool had a few chances to see out the game. Like Chelsea kind of had most of the ball the last 5 minutes, which expecting trying to get a winner. But like we said last week, this will kind of see where both teams are at. And even though Chelsea lost, I think they stepped up to the test really well. Like I said, it could have been a draw. They were a little bit unfortunate. And Liverpool have shown that they can play one of the better teams. That people are saying that, they haven't played anyone of quality yet. And they have now, and they got over the line. So, yeah, still top. And
yeah, so maybe the ease at which you lot would beat them, I was probably wrong on that last week. So, yeah, you and Biz did say, look, it's not going to be that clear cut. Chelsea have, been doing well, and I just thought you guys would overpower them. But listen to yourself and have a look at the highlights. Doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think they're far off. I've said Sanchez shouldn't have been. He's not that they shouldn't have signed him, but he's not the goalkeeper to take you to the next level. I think if you replace Sanchez, they find a lead centre back, I think they'll be in good stead next season going forward. I don't think you'll replace that this season.
No.
And yeah, Liverpool, like I say, watching us this year, you can see Slot is quite methodical on who the opposition is and how he wants the team to play. So like Curtis Jones last week against Crystal Palace played in the 10 role. This week, essentially played in the 8. And it was his job to kind of lock up Palmer. And it was one of Palmer's quieter games. And Jones done that box-to-box stuff like really well. Like he blocked a good shot from Palmer in the first half. He was in the action. He won the penalty. He could have won a second penalty. scored the winning goal.
Mm.
Like he was all action, got man of the match. Gravenberch wasn't as fantastic as he's been, but he just done the simple bits really well. Yeah, it was just a good all round performance. Like
and Jones would have played instead of
McAllister.
Yeah.
And you'd think, well, McAllister had a great season. How's
Mm.
that going to fare? But like we didn't miss him. Like, you know, when your team makes a change and you miss a player, like, that didn't really show today at all. And I think next week will be the biggest test of it all. So going to the Emirates.
Yeah, that means you guys are top. 21 points, Man City 20 points, and then Arsenal are 3 points behind and 17 joint with Villa. Arsenal third on goal difference. So yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. They always say after 10 or so games, things shape up. So let's see. Let's see what happens next week. Good win for Liverpool. So if we look back at a Saturday game now, Bournemouth versus Arsenal. Bournemouth won 2-0 at home to Arsenal. We also had William Saliba sent off. I wouldn't say controversially. I would just say there's been a bit of deliberation about, you know, the ref's choice of punishment. But ultimately, you know, Bournemouth made their advantage count. Scored a really good set piece goal.
Yeah.
The irony. And then David Raya has one of his brain farts and gives away a penalty, which Justin Kluivert tucks away very, very well. So where do we start with this one? We should start with the red cards. Early enough in the game. It's 30 minutes in. And to that point, I don't think we were overpowering Bournemouth or doing anything fantastic. So already I was feeling like this isn't as sharp. The ball movement wasn't as quick. Marino wasn't doing badly, but he wasn't looking like he was gonna have much attacking effect on the game. So he'd be okay in possession, defensively without the ball, shape-wise, he'd know what to do. But when we had possession, it just lacked a little something. And of course, he's played three Premiership games or whatever. He's got to get used to the speed. So actually, you know, Bournemouth were holding their own, and we've talked a few times about their manager, right? Spanish manager. He has his tactical approach, and I just feel like Bournemouth for Bournemouth, Arsenal for Arsenal. But in games like this where you come up against a similar minds tactically, you know, if your team's disciplined, etc., you can show a certain level. You know, you can show a level, and it's the same kind of thing with Villa Arsenal. So I wasn't entirely surprised that actually their approach, you know, they weren't sitting back, they weren't just there to soak up. They were really trying to, you know, pressure us on the ball, give us a minimum amount of time. Also, when they had the ball, be progressive. So to that point about pressure, you know, the ball comes to Trossard on Arsenal's left side. He's facing his own goal. So as he comes, he makes a first time pass.
Yeah.
Which I've watched it about 50 times. I don't know who was the intended recipient of that pass. I can only guess it was David Raya. But why you'd want to try and back pass to him from there, you know, 5 or 6 yards into the opposition's half. That execution hasn't gone well. And the ball has curled into the middle of the pitch with the Brighton attacker. Let me actually get his name off. Sorry, the Bournemouth attacker, Evan Nilsson. How can I forget a name like that? And Evan Nilsson was goal side of Saliba. And Saliba kind of tugs at his shirt to get into position. Again, typical kind of defender, dark arts rubbish. But Evan Nilsson's not silly. A little bit of tangling of the legs as well. So he goes down. So then the whole deliberation now becomes around, you know, Claire goes to an opportunity. He's in a last man, etc. Ben White was retreating as well, but he was in the right back position. Again, debate, would he have got there? Was
Yeah.
he close enough? And David Raya was cheating. My initial instinct, and I still think this is that I actually think that it's not that clear-cut chance. I think that, you know, the guy was still in the centre circle. You know, the guy's been impeded in the centre circle. There's still a lot of work to do. And by the letter of the law, yes, you can give him a red card and it's fine. But the fact that his initial instinct was to give him a yellow, I don't think it was enough of a clear and obvious error for VAR to get involved, number one. And number two, we talk about Howard Webb comes out and talks about previous decisions about referees not wanting to have impact on games. That's one where it's not, it's not an absolute stonewall clear-cut red. So if you're not 100% sure, you can't give a red. Which is why he gave a yellow in the first place. Yeah,
I agree. And like when I saw it in real time and he gave the yellow, I was a bit like, fair, it's in the centre circle. Like, if he gets through, it's still a bit of a foot race in it to whether the defender would catch him or not. But then you've got to look at the flip side is if he doesn't get taken down, he's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. So that's kind of a clear-cut chance, isn't it? Stopping a goal scoring opportunity. So I think it's 50-50 in it. Like, it's a shame because these things should be kind of clear-cut. But I think if he's given a yellow, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But he was given a red. I was like, I can understand. By the same token, he was given a red card. So yeah, like go back to what you said. Like it was a poor pass by Trossard. That kind of catches Saliba off guard. And
he panics.
Yeah, and it's something like you feel you have to make a tackle,
yeah.
make a choice, and it's just a bit of a shame that he's kind of paid for. Trossard.
And people have shared an opinion that he should have just let him go. That just doesn't work. That's just not in the nature.
Yeah, the defender, you don't.
Let the striker just run off unimpeded. He's fast enough to catch him, etc. It just doesn't work. Obviously, everything's great in hindsight. You'd rather be 1-0 down than 1 man down, as someone said to me today. But I don't know. I think root cause number one, trust on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then I think number two, yes, in this situation, Saliba's got to make better decisions, but I think it's very difficult in that split second. And I would even argue, again, when you're giving him the opportunity, it wasn't even what he did would not have caused a fall of that nature. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you've given Evan Nilsson an opportunity to react to it.
Every striker will kind of play up to that.
Exactly that. And then the whole game changes.
Yeah. Sorry, before we go on to the goals, what do you think about the 3 starting midfielders in terms of Moreno, Partey and Rice? Like, for me, I was like, I kind of understand it. You're playing away to Bournemouth. You know Lopetegui, how he plays. Like, they know each other from back in the day. I was just a bit surprised he didn't give Wanyeri a chance just for that creative element. Like, that 3 doesn't seem creative. And like, I kind of joked yesterday about Saka wasn't being in the team. That's why you didn't create much. But I think with Saka missing, why not just have someone in there who you know can do something and potentially create some chances rather than go with 3 like just let him play.
I think a couple of things. One, Marino, that kind of 8 position is supposed to be his thing, right?
Yeah.
2, I think, again, Rice, when Partey's in the team, especially, Rice has a little bit more freedom. So he's also there to join the attack. And thirdly, on that Saka point, as far as he's concerned, he's replaced him with Sterling, right? And again, I don't think that was ideal for him because Sterling generally plays on the left. For some reason, he didn't want to put Martinelli in. He felt Sterling would be a better fit from the start. And to be honest, I think that was his first league start for us. He's not got up to speed, I would say, yet, Sterling. But, I don't know. I think maybe he thinks it was too soon. But to your point, on his assessment of Brighton, this was not the game for Wanyeri to start. And I would probably guess that he felt, I've got enough there. We'll maintain our defensive solidity.
Yeah.
And there'll be enough there from an attacking point of view to make this work. Between Trossard, Havertz, Sterling, a bit of Marino getting involved and Rice externally, plus our set pieces, we'll have enough. Right. And if I need to later on, I'll get Wanyeri involved, etc. But I think you're right. That's a perfect opportunity to give him that start in the middle, and then maybe you take him off later, you shuffle it later.
Yeah, and I think it kind of gives him a bit of confidence that the manager will trust him in those kind of games, and that can kind of help you going forward. Yeah, I guess it'd be interesting to kind of see how Arteta manages him. Like I've had my criticism of him with youth players, etc.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Yeah, I think the games that he's come on, you've seen what he can do, like the little glimpses, etc. It'd be good, like just to let him play. I don't know who you got in the Champions League this week.
We got Shakhtar. So.
Yeah, if that's at home, like, I think that'd be a perfect opportunity for him just to play. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think I've said it before. You know, Arteta's 5 years in the job. Is that still an inexperienced manager? Discuss. I would say he's not inexperienced, but he's on the inexperienced side of things. And I think sometimes we're still seeing some of that.
The naivety.
Yeah, and just some of the, again, in hindsight, why not start Ranieri or even have a setup where, Jesus is the 9 and Havertz does that 8-piece, etc., etc., which we've seen before. Whether it worked or not, they discuss. But yeah, Mourinho just didn't look that part from an attacking point of view anyway. Yeah. And then he gets sent off and he brings on Kiwior, sub Sterling. And I'm like, well, at first I was like, well, I don't blame him. Again, to your point, he knows how they play. You got Semenyo there, Avellino's there. So, Ouattara. So he's thinking, right, I need to show up at the back. Now, lots of people are saying, fairly, well, why don't you stay free at the back for a bit? Allow us to maintain a certain level of pressure and take the game to them still, right? And I think it was too quick to go defensive. We had 3 centre-backs. We had 3 centre-backs on the pitch. Could have been done. We started with 4 centre-backs, effectively. And I just think, could he have risked it a little bit longer? Right? That's 30 minutes. That's 15 minutes of the first half. Could he have tried to do something about it? Right? And then Kiwior comes on. I don't personally think he played badly, but then he makes an error for the second goal. So the first goal is he makes an error for
for the second goal, for the penalty. But before that, who has the chance? Martinelli, when he comes on, has the and I think it wasn't as clear cut as everyone's making out. I don't think it's 100% you have to score there.
For someone of his supposed quality, that should be a goal 9 times out of 10, in my opinion. Okay. It's rolled across the box. You 1-on-1 the keeper. You put it either side of him. The keeper's done well to close that angle. You put it either side of him.
Yeah, he didn't give the keeper the eyes, innit?
No, There was just, I'm going to hit this, I hope it goes in, rather than I'm going to finish this chance. Do you know what I mean?
And it was quite quickly after that, they get the corner.
And exactly that. And that's the beauty of the game, right? So you score that goal, you give your team a bit of a lifeline, give them a breather, and then maybe you give Mikel Arteta a platform to then say, okay, I'm going to be a bit more risky, or we're going to press on from here. And then they go up the other end of the pitch, get a corner, corner taker plays the ball to the front post. There's a bit of a flick on to Ryan Christie, who finishes it first time. Top bins.
Yeah.
Great corner. Well worked.
And I think that's an indictment of set piece coaches, because if you look at Arsenal set pieces, attacking and defending, they're scoring, defending, they're not giving much away. So it's like, right, how do we navigate that? Because Bournemouth aren't the biggest team. You look at Clivert, you look at Christie, etc. They're not the big. So you've got to mix it up, and I think they bore fruit from that.
No, it was a very, very, very well taken corner. And obviously there was a little bit more space, I guess, one man down. And then Kiwior sells David Raya short with a back pass.
Yeah. Raya tried to stay up for as long as he could, but he was just like, he's going round.
And it was one of those ones where, if you look at the video, he's made contact with Raya more than Raya's made contact with him.
100%.
But once you're down and he's impeded, you're finished.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to look at the VAR and be like, oh, you clattered into him. So, again, Kiwior's just not helped him. And then he ends up getting dragged. So he comes in as a sub. And then he ends up going off as well,
Yeah.
going back off. So look, I just think even without the sending off, we weren't playing great. It wasn't a great performance. We're moving the ball too slowly. You weren't seeing lots of those rotations. I think the only person that really came out of any credit was Kai Havertz. He was working hard. Once it was went down to 10 men, he was running around like a madman. We're trying to make things happen. He's the one that kind of put the chance on the plate for Martinelli. And I hope it's a little bit of a wake-up call. And the other thing to take from this is, what's this, the 8th Premier League game? Arsenal have already had 3 sending-offs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Rice said we got away with it twice. Now we've shot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah.
At making it happen again. Like you just diminish your chance of winning games unless it's
Well, the only games
11,
we've dropped points in the league this season are the games where we've been reduced to 10 men. So there you go. 2 draws and a loss. So, and this is where these are the small things. Last year we talked about, well, if you win that Fulham game, if you don't get by Villa, you win the league. Well, this is it. These are the small things that matter.
Yeah, and go back to a point we've made previously, where last season you could essentially play the same 8 or 9 players week in, week out. You knew what he was getting. Where now with these injuries and these suspensions, things are becoming a bit disjointed. So it's like, right, for me, it's like, okay, Arteta, what are you made of now?
Yeah.
That you've got to make these decisions. Like, are you going to make the right calls?
Yeah. Are you picking the right team? Is it the right shape? You made a point about Waneri. Was his reaction the right one? Et cetera.
And they're saying Saka might have a hamstring injury. I don't know how long, but if he's missing next week, Odegaard's missing next week, Saliba's missing next week, that's like 3 key players. So it's like...
Apparently on the Saka one, it's not a bad injury. I genuinely think they thought, we'll be all right. It's Bournemouth. Got Champions League in the week and Liverpool on the weekend.
Yeah.
Apparently it's not a big injury. I'm not saying that he was fit to play, they chose not to pick him, but I think if it was a crucial game, if they thought it was a very crucial game, you'd have seen Saka.
Yeah, of course.
You'd have seen Saka. So yeah. Setback, let's see. I mean, it's 8 games in, there's lots of games to play. But we discussed a couple of weeks ago, already you're like, you don't want to be going behind. You don't want to be X amount of points behind.
And it kind of makes the game next week not really important for you, but if you were to lose...
Well, more important than you wanted it to be.
Yeah, if you were to lose next week, that's like a 7-point gap.
Yeah.
And you're like...
That's tough.
Do you want a 7-point gap at any stage of the season?
Exactly. We're 4 points behind you now, 3 points behind City.
Yeah, so, but I think it'll be a good game regardless. So.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think, again, Timber wasn't around today. Saliba not being there is massive, but I think it might do something interesting. If Timber's around with Calafiori, Timber, etc. Yeah, it'll be a good game. I just hope we can put out a team that can push you guys.
See what you're made of.
Oh, yeah, all right. So moving on to the other title rivals, I guess. Wolves played Manchester City at home. Wolves 1, Man City 2. Again, more controversy in this game. Wolves went ahead, actually, well-worked goal. Jurgen Strand-Larsen scored in the 7th minute. It was Man City, yes, to be fair, kind of went down the right.
Yeah.
And Semedo, who, I'm not going to lie, I'm not his biggest fan. He played a pass that I did not know he was capable of.
The right weight of pass.
Yeah, literally.
To the back, essentially the back post, wasn't it? Yeah.
It reminds me of a pass. It's not the same level of quality, but do you remember a pass? I think it was in a Spanish game. Was it Mendieta or someone? Similar ilk, like from the right wing or left wing, and his pass and it's just curved all the way around the back of the defense to a player. I can't remember. I'll try and find it. I can't remember who passed it. It reminded me of that. But yeah, anyway, great pass. It effectively makes the goal. And then, but you think it's City. So what? Right?
They're going to come back.
But again, Wolves have much. Semedo had a chance, gone through 1-on-1, didn't take it. And then Vardio says, all right, hold my beer. And he puts one top bins from outside the area.
Yeah, he does. He pops up with these kind of goals, innit? Like
crazy. I think keeper could have done a bit better. He got a full palm to it. So he palms it into the side netting. But for your left back, your centre back to be taking those shots from there, jeez.
Yeah, just shows the freedom that City have with their players, isn't it? Like, why is your left back there so regularly
Well,
to to get
and
these shots off?
he's one thing he's there positionally. Another one is that he's like, yeah, I will try and execute something that's super difficult, and but it's usually attacking players that do this,
Back
and it's
to-
regular. He pops those shots regularly, and then we get to the controversy. So, 95th minute, 5 minutes of injury, 5th minute of injury time, or 6th actually. Corner comes in. John Stones wins the header. However, as the corner's been taken, Bernardo Silva is
Jocelyn.
yes, thank you, with the keeper. And when you look at it along the line, he's actually in offside position. When John Stones heads the ball, he kind of kneels down to almost say, "Hey guys, I'm not involved in this phase of play." But before he does that, he's giving the keeper a little nudge, a little bit of dark arts. Immediately as that's got in, the linesman put his offside flag up. But VAR have checked and said he was interfering with play. What do you think? I don't understand.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been given. And the reason why I say that is because while the ball's in the air, that's when Bernardo Silva is kind of having that little shove with the keeper. And once the keeper's shoved, he's got to reset himself. Like, he's not in the position that he was before he gets shoved. So therefore, he's impeding. I know, like, after while Stones is connected with the ball, Bernardo Silva's kind of run out of the way like a little cheeky school kid kind of thing. But in the build-up to that, he's impeded the goalkeeper, and I don't see why it wasn't like why the goal wasn't disallowed. They're saying that he wasn't in the direct eye line, etc.
Yeah, but it's not just about that. I think there's a multitude of factors. And this is to your point. He's had an effect on the keeper's ability to interact in that phase.
Yeah, 100%. Because the keeper could have been like, I want to come and collect it, but I couldn't come and collect it because he was pushing me. So
fair. And he's offside. He's just like, he's just factually, he's offside. And what? He'd only been offside if, let's say, keeper saved it or parried it and then he's there to the ball, then he's offside. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And these are the kind of,
the
situations.
fine margins.
And
cost things. And rightly.
Consistency of decisions.
Yeah, and like Gary Neal can feel pretty aggrieved. Like, I know Sarr had a really good game. He was pulling off saves from like Savinho and Doku, etc. And he kept Wolves in the game. But Wolves were good for the point. Like, they're struggling. Like, they've had a really hard fixture list so far. And like, you can see Gary O'Neill was just like exasperated when the goal was given. And I feel a bit sorry for him because, like I say, they played really well against Liverpool. Didn't manage to get a result. Played really well today. There've been a couple games where they've been up and down, but I think they'll be good. Like, I think they're 4 points off the team in 17th, and then maybe 7 points off the team above them. But I think if they carry on playing the way they will, I think they'll be okay.
Well, I mean, the next 4 games they've got Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Fulham. Now those 4 games.
They want 6. I think the 2 middle games, they want points out of those 2 games.
Definitely. Brighton are flying high. So that'll be tricky, and Fulham aren't doing too badly themselves. So,
but again, like we said, City, although not playing well, they're getting over the line, but the fragility is there. So it'll be interesting when they play Chelsea first game of the season. I don't think you can really kind of judge that. When they play their first Arsenal or Liverpool, I think it'll be interesting to see how they perform.
Well, they have. Remember, we played them.
Sorry, of course, yes.
The whole 2-2.
Yeah.
And, we were winning.
Yeah, you were the better team when it was 11v11.
Yeah.
Held out well. So
last minute goal.
I think there's just a little bit of fragility in that team at the minute. I know they've got their injuries, but
yeah. Let's see. We've been there before. Spurs, Tottenham 4, West Ham 1. Kulusevski, Basuma, own goal from Areola, which is strange. I think it's an own goal from the defender.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And Son, and with Kudus giving West Ham the lead. Actually, this was a strange game. Did you watch it?
I saw the second half. I didn't see the first half.
So I saw the game. The first half. Well, I said the first half. The first half of the first half. So like the first 20 minutes. Tottenham started quite quickly. taking up good positions. They were controlling the game. And then there was just this weird shift where West Ham kind of came alive. And almost remembered what game plan they were supposed to execute.
Yeah, could have had a chance just before he scored,
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah, he had a chance before he
scored.
scored. And you know he's always electric. He gets on the ball. He's always threatening. Antonio as well. But yeah, it was just weird. And then for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, Spurs were asleep basically. Could have scores the goal. And then Kulusevski cuts inside, takes a shot. But didn't catch it too cleanly. It was a little bit speculative.
Keeper got a hand onto the post.
Yeah, but he was kind of he was late side. Like he saw the ball late, pushed onto the post, and then from there, that was it.
So just going back to the first half, I'm not sure why Maddison came off. I don't know whether he was injured or not.
Well, he wasn't injured.
So I think I said it before. Maddison and Kulusevski in the middle three just doesn't seem to work for me. And people might push back on that because Kulusevski has played pretty well since he's been transitioned into that 8 role. But I just think it leaves.
But they got 2 different jobs to do though.
Yeah, I get that, but I think it still leaves Basuma like a little bit exposed. And I was listening to the game on the radio, and yeah, I guess even against Brighton, like I know they went 2-0 up last week, but even in the second half, like you could see where the gaps were forming. And I just don't think Maddison's. I know he's essentially, I know essentially he's the 10, so he's attacking, but I think off the ball it leaves them a little bit exposed because you've got, even though Kulusevski's doing that box to box, he's still quite attacking. I just think it leaves them a little bit exposed in the middle. And you saw in the second half when Maddison came off,
yeah, Sarr was there.
Sarr was on. It's like, right, Sarr and Basuma can do that dirty work. Kulusevski can still float around. And I think it just works better. Like I know he's played it a few times this season. I just don't think it works. It might do. Like he might just be trying it until it gets drummed into them, but you never know.
Yeah, Maddison's an interesting one as well. He's an interesting one because I just don't. He's gone through small spells. I don't think he's the player that I thought he was going to become at Spurs. To be honest, this was meant to be after all the talk. He spent a lot of time at Leicester. No one actually came in for him. So I don't know if we've seen the Maddison that we thought he was going to be at Spurs. I don't think we have. So it's an interesting one for him to go off at half-time and it's not injured. And, you know, I don't know what he was talking about. I don't know whether it's related to this, but Postecoglou at the end of the second half, he seemed very animated. Almost, as soon as the whistle went, he turned and told someone, come on, you're coming on type vibe. So it's almost, he immediately saw something and said, nah, Maddison, you're coming off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not always about the player, right? So maybe he's seeing something more holistically, to your point, tactically, and Maddison's the one he can sacrifice because Kulusevski is going to do more on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
It's easy to be like, oh, Maddison was playing rubbish, so he got dragged. But it just could be a little bit, it could have been a little bit wider than that. But I think it's a good win for Spurs. You know, Son gets 2 goals. Kulusevski again continues on form. Basuma, I actually thought it was Basuma that was going to come off. But
I think they needed it as well, just because of how they capitulated last time out. So.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a strong message. Son is back in the goals as well. But West Ham, I mean, from 1-0 up to kind of a 4-1 loss.
And a red card.
And then Kudus losing his head at the end. Like, you know when they talk about players frustrated, the game's not going their way, blah, blah, blah. That was the ultimate manifestation of that.
Yeah, prime example.
Like, literally, it was crazy. West Ham, what do you think? I mean, like I've said, I feel like Botega's got some time. What do you think he needs to fix there? What's going on?
I think it's the same as Iriola at Bournemouth. They just need time to get used to his style of play and the way he wants to play football. I just don't think it's quite happened yet. Seeing glimpses of it, because like in the first half yesterday, like obviously I watched the highlights. There were glimpses of what they can do.
Yeah.
We saw against Ipswich last week, moved the ball really well, getting in the right places, etc. So I think the foundations are there. It just needs to start clicking soon. Like he might get away up until the next international break, which is in like 2 or 3 weeks. But that run from like November into January, I think by then you've got to be like, right, what is your style of play, etc. Because like I say, they backed him. They got Somerville in for him. Fulkrug, I think he's quite injury prone at the minute because Antonio started yesterday. Who else? They signed Wan-Bissaka. And there was another.
Kilman.
Yeah, Kilman. Yeah, another big signing. So they backed
Alvarez.
him. So they've just got to start showing they understand what they want from the manager, and they need to start doing it soon.
Yeah, Bowie's gone a bit quiet as well. Yeah, interesting. Okay, and then Newcastle, Brighton. After all the talk this week of Eddie Howe being potential England manager, loses at home to Brighton. Danny Mensah.
Doing well.
Welbs.
That guy.
Yeah, I mean, did you see any of this game?
Yeah. Isak had a big chance. He was 1-on-1 with the keeper, fluffed his lines. Gordon had 2 1-on-1s, fluffed his lines. And yeah, it's pretty much, what I want to say, smash and grab.
Yeah.
But Newcastle were the better team, had the chances, and yeah, they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And I think that's just been a bit of an indictment of Eddie Howe since he's been at Newcastle. They'll give you like a really good performance and they'll give you a really bad performance within like a 4 or 5 game span. And I think that was just one of their, wouldn't say bad performances, but just everything just didn't click for them. And Brighton are just quietly going about
business,
doing their job.
I see that someone made a comment to me this week, which I thought was interesting, and he used the word stale to describe Newcastle's squad. And I thought, you know what? That might not be as crazy as it sounded when they first said it. And, I look at the squad now, forget about the starting 11. Okay, Livramento, Shaw, Dan Burn, what's his name? Lewis Hall, I think his name is.
Yeah. Chelsea guy.
Tonali, Gimarash, Joe Linton, Jacob Murphy, Isak, and Gordon. And then on the bench, he got Javi Barnes, great. William Masuda, I don't know who he is. Almiron is still there somehow. Joe Willock, Sean Longstaff comes on. Emil Crafts on the bench.
Yeah, I think if you take, say, Isak, Gordon, maybe Joelinton, and the midfielder, Bruno, maybe Joelinton out of the equation, the rest of their players, if they played for teams from 8th to 18th, you wouldn't be surprised. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, they're just kind of run-of-the-mill, good Premiership players. And he's squeezing every bit of juice out of them players. Because what are they, 7th or 8th, something like that? And that's a good indictment on Howe's management and what he can get out of the resources that he has. But we've said they've got no superstars, and I think stale is quite a
but they spent money. Like, they paid money for Livramento. They paid that price for Hall. Obviously, Tonali was a little. So we say that, but have they made the right purchases though? Spent a lot of money on Gordon or Barnes, or in hindsight, is it looking like actually there were probably other areas you could have. I mean, they have got injuries, right?
Yeah, and I think bar Tonali, I think since then they've had to kind of deal with FFP, haven't they? So I think they brought for kind of future proof in the squad.
Yeah.
So like Hall and Livramento are not, they're good players, but they're not ready-made well beaters yet. Yeah. Could get there, you never know. And I think they brought a squad to challenge for Europe, where if you want to be in Europe, so that's a bit weird. So like, if you want to win the league, you've got to buy players who are better than winning the league. If you want to challenge for Champions League, you've got to buy players who might take you to the league. It's like, it's weird. So it's like they bought players who might get you into Europe, but they might not. Where they should have been buying maybe Champions League level players to get you into Europe. So it's a tough one, man. The market's hard, even though Newcastle are cash rich, like their hands are tied a little bit.
Yeah. So. But look at Brighton.
Yeah, but it's about,
and just look at the rest of the Premiership games this weekend. Manchester United beat Brentford 2-1 at home, coming from 1-0 down. Fulham lost at home, 1-3 to Aston Villa. 2 red cards in that game. Also red cards this weekend.
Yeah.
Ipswich lost at home to Everton 2-0. Everton are shaping up a little bit now, it looks like. And then we're recording this on Sunday night, but Monday night's game is Nottingham Forest at home to Crystal Palace.
Southampton lost as well.
Oh yeah, sorry. And then
2-0 up.
Southampton lost 2-3 to Leicester. Southampton were 2-0 up, and Leicester managed to come back with Keith's favourite player, Jordan Ayew, scoring the winner.
98th minute as well.
Yeah, crazy. Near post as well from outside the box. Keeper. Anyway, so that's what the Premiership sort of round up. I guess the only thing left to talk about is the big news of the week. So of course we discussed the England job situation last week. We talked about Lee Carsley and what seemed like his reluctance to put his hat in the ring or to even just acknowledge that he should be a front runner for the job, almost talking like he was looking forward to going back to the old job. We debated kind of who they should get, and we were focusing quite a lot on it being someone English.
Mm-hmm.
There were rumours of Pep and all these other guys, but because of the current climate, we didn't think it would be serious. Anyway, we'll leave here, we'll go home, it's all good. And then we wake up on Monday to the news that Thomas Tuchel is going to be England manager, gathering serious pace. And unusually for something like this, it gathers real pace quickly.
Yeah.
So the rumour mill didn't go on for a couple of weeks. We had a press conference like the next day, at which some details came out. And in hindsight, as I'm sure you've heard in the discourse over this week, clearly Carsley knew he wasn't getting a job.
Yeah.
Tuchel signed his contract on the 8th or 9th of October, apparently. So it wasn't done that day as many of the tabloids were reporting or whatever. He'd already signed his contract a little while ago.
Yeah. I think they were caught on the hop and they was a little bit annoyed, weren't they?
Who were?
The press.
Yes. Because they like to act like they got insiders, etc. So I think it's refreshing for something to have been done without the press knowing about it and talking about it openly. I think that's actually quite refreshing. And inevitably, what followed was the outpouring of annoyance, irritation that the new England manager was not only English. I don't know if people were more annoyed that it wasn't an Englishman or the fact that he's German.
German, 100%.
And so the usual suspects do what they do. Harry Redknapp's, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, all the voices in the game talking about, it's an embarrassment, it's a disgrace, the FA have got a lot to answer for, as Gary Neville was saying. And I'm just thinking, the irony of everyone saying that it should have been an English manager, etc. That is exactly the entitlement and the lack of just perspective that has dogged the England team for decades.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of talk about the pathway. So St. George's Park was created to create a pathway for coaches, etc. That's fair enough. But St. George's Park has been in place, 12, 13, 14 years now?
Yeah.
Why is it only now that you're worried about the pathway? What's happened to all the years previously? If you've got this hub, I've not been to St. George's Park, but apparently it's excellent. It's got state-of-the-art facilities, etc.
Yeah.
And it was created by Howard Wilkinson, who ironically was the last Englishman to win the league.
Yep.
It was his kind of brainchild when he was working at the FA. The steps should have been in place from then for a English manager or English coaching system within the UK to blood these kind of coaches that you're saying should be on a pathway. I know football's changed over the years where money's kind of taken over and the kind of owners of the bigger clubs kind of want instant success. So they might not find that here.
Yeah, but hold on. But to that point, yeah, I think the problem I'm having is no one wants to talk about why there aren't any England coaches or English coaches that are suitable. Whether you want quick success or not, somebody else has produced a coach that those clubs think will give them said quick success, right? You know, you look at someone like Liverpool. They went to a coach who won the Dutch league to go and get their next coach. This is a a Champions League challenging, Premier League title winning club. And at the time, nobody said, "Oh, why isn't there anyone English good enough for the Liverpool job or whatever?" And people say, "Oh, it's not the same." But I guess my point is, the football world is bigger than the England job, right? And if you just took a step back and looked at all the big jobs in the last 10 years, English coaches haven't done well at them.
No.
So what did you want the FA to do? If you're really that concerned about it, it would have been a constant conversation. It would have been something that was part of the discourse, ongoing. And if it's that really a big consideration, we should be asking these questions when the big club jobs come up as well. The last person we had take a quote-unquote big job that was English was Graham Potter at Chelsea. The same Graham Potter that people are telling me should have got this job. Based on what?
Just because
Based
it's
on what?
English. And it even goes back to the point when people were clamoring over Howe. Like I say, Howe's done really well with what he's done, resources, etc. But they were quick to big up Howe, but quick to downplay Carsley. I was like, well, Carsley's won something of high standing. Howe's won nothing. It's like, grant he'd done well with Bournemouth, Newcastle, but
nothing.
you're saying you want winners, etc. Well, Carsley is the winner. He's what you want. He's the person who's been on a pathway. That's what the pathway should be. No, England under 21s, senior job like that. That's essentially a pathway. And I don't know. Maybe something needs to happen with players who, or just coaches in general, that want to be coaches. Like, I don't know how the coaching systems work, and I think it'd be quite interesting, like if and when we get a coach on, kind of what the blockers are, maybe. So maybe it should be a thing of anyone on like a coaching course can get to spend a day at a Premiership club. Like, it be kind of mandatory.
No, but they do all of that. I think so to that point, Stan Collymore tried to highlight some of the barriers in this country. So number one is cost.
Yeah, there's been a bit of contention with that. But I understand.
So,
it is expensive anyway.
Yeah, so he tried to highlight, look, cost is an issue. But again, I just, one of my friends made a really, really good point. They said, well, is it that costly? So he said the coaching cost here, here, I think it starts at £13,000 and then goes up to £19,000. Whereas in somewhere like Spain, where they have, I think they have 2,000 or they have a number in multiples of that same level of coaching, number of coaches that we have here. And I think the equivalent cost is €2,000.
Yeah, but the thing with that, in Spain, they've got two pathways.
Yeah,
so
they've got the academic pathway.
They've got the national pathway and then the kind of FIFA pathway.
Yeah.
So a lot of people do the Spanish pathway because you can still manage in the Spanish league.
Yes.
With the national.
And earn.
Yeah, and earn a wage.
And then do the FIFA.
And your club doesn't get fined, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why they've got so many coaches but it's not the same as the FIFA pathway, if that makes sense. That's why they've got so many.
Yeah. But I guess the point is,
why is it something like that?
I guess Stan Collymor's point is they've put in place a set of circumstances that has resulted in them having more top level coaches, right? And that's just an example. And I looked at it and at first I thought, you know what, yeah, it's fine. And my friend made a good point. He said, well, hold on. You think about any other profession in this country, right? How much does it cost to go to uni?
$9,000 now, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's more. I think it's like 10, 12 grand a year. How much does it cost? Most professions, even if you forget university, if you want to become a specific, you want to get the professional qualifications in an IT area, you're going to have some costs if you want to get an accounting qualification, etc. So why is football any different, right? Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't make it as cheap as possible and the FA can't do more to subsidise it. But there was a point where it's like, well, there is going to be a level of commitment, level of cost, a level of investment needed. We're talking about, when we talk about that level of coach, we're talking about the professional game. So we're talking about people that need to manage in the football league and above.
Yeah.
Right? There's going to be an element of cost. So there was that. I think there's definitely an element of, I don't think there's an element of top players of the last generation, they're not flying the flag for coaching in that way, right? Or prominent players. We don't have an English equivalent of a Xabi Alonso who's gone into the game, do we? Not from that generation. Not that one. Rooney, maybe.
Yeah, but I think, but to that point though, if you look at someone like Carrick, so Carrick's at Middlesbrough,
Yeah.
arguably one of the best midfielders that we've had,
Yes.
but never got the praise. Why isn't someone like him being kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I could say groomed.
Yeah.
Groomed is the wrong word.
Yeah, but almost.
But you're one of our better players. You want to go into coaching. You are a manager. What can we do to help you on your path? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I think Carrick is one of the few that is doing it the right way. I'm not going to dine out on the fact that I was a Manchester United midfielder, England midfielder. He went to Middlesbrough. I think it was part of the coaching stuff. I can't remember who was the manager.
Yeah.
That manager got fired. He got the caretaker job, proved himself.
And then stayed on.
And he's learning his trade. He's going to try and get them up. I actually think he's doing it the right way. I guess the point I was making with that prominence piece is there isn't that kind of profile and caliber of player, or enough of them who have kind of gone through that path as well. Because another point he made was, these guys, these Steven Gerrards, Lampard, etc., they're not going to St George's Park. They're not going through that system.
No.
They're retiring, getting big jobs, getting big money, and then just cracking on. So this identity thing isn't necessarily there, right?
Yeah. And I think the FA don't really know what they want for this whole coaching thing. They're saying that we want to create a pathway, we want to create the next coaches, etc. But has anyone seen a roadmap of what that looks like? And the roadmap should be like, right, someone who was released at 18 doesn't want to play anymore, but wants to get into coaching. What does that roadmap look like? Someone who was injured at 25 wants to get into coaching. What does that road like? There's no roadmaps to how they want these successful coaches to be created. I think that needs to be a step.
And I think that needs to be created and mandated, because the thing that no one wants to talk about, no one says this week, is football in this country as well is still very much about who you know and whether your face fits.
Yeah.
Right? And on the players' side, that's just eroded because, the number of players that come through and the quality of players, it kind of is what it is. But you go down the ladder, you hear guys say it all the time, semi-pro, etc. And we see that at the top level still with the management job. That there was no. What credentials did Frank Lampard have to get that job at Derby, apart from Harry Redknapp calling the owner and saying, "Have a chat with him"? What credentials did he have?
It's true.
So until people want to have that conversation about it's who you know, it's your standing within the game, etc. That's one thing. And you're right. The structure needs to be. There needs to be a very, very, very clear structure and pathway. And they need the FA, where the FA is the richest football association in the world, all this stuff, fine. They need to have a means-tested way to support coaches with the qualifications so they can go into roles and start earning and all that good stuff. And just on the final point on that is pathway doesn't always mean you will always have managers or coaches of a certain caliber available at the time. That's just not how football works.
Yeah.
Right? You could have 2,000 coaches come through. The law numbers say the more you got coming through,
the less the quality could be.
Well, not even that you've got more chance of having, a pool of high quality coaches. But football goes in cycles. All these countries that they're citing have had their dips. They've had their dark times. They've had spells where they've not won anything.
Yeah.
So they mentioned Scaloni. Come on, let's allow it. Is Scaloni is it Scaloni's tactical nous that won them the Copa America and the World Cup? Let's be honest. And they went however many years without winning the World Cup, right? They got to finals, etc., but they didn't. So I just think there's lots of very simplistic, very arrogance-based, entitlements-based arguments. And then the big thing as well, it's an 18-month contract, bruv.
Yeah, it's not like
It's
it's not like they're
18
giving him
months.
4 years. They're basically saying, take us to the World Cup
Yeah.
and see how you get on.
Yeah.
Essentially,
We've
like
got we've got this wonderfully talented pool of players now. Best we've had in, we won't argue, 2 or 3 generations. So because of nationality, we shouldn't do what we think we should do to leverage that. I don't think it makes any sense. I think you either give Carsley the job or you give someone like Tuchel the job. There's no one in the open market. There's no English club manager that is a better fit for that job than Tuchel. If you had given Carsley the job, I would have got it. I don't think that would have been your best option to
yeah,
leverage the squad.
but it's understandable. Yeah.
Yes. And also, no one's talking about how Tuchel getting this job could help a Carsley.
This is it.
Could help Carsley and his squad. You know, I talked about top players. Julian Lescott's part of his staff, Ashley Cole. Who knows, working with someone who's won the Champions League, who's won the league in 2 or 3 countries, which none of them have done, that might actually be a good thing for them to work with him.
Yeah,
Who knows?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And I know they're not going to be any staff, but they're all going to be part of the same organisation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of people saying, yeah, we understand he's the best footballing man, but there's nuances in terms of him
Rubbish.
being German, etc. It's like, it's the best man for the job. Like, if he wins the World Cup in 18 months' time, you're going to be throwing your beer up in the air like everyone else.
Love.
So it doesn't really matter. Like, I think they're just doing it for like a self-morality check, innit?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I've said I'm against it, so I've done my standard. Well, no, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, even when I listen to people who are less reactive and have thought it through, even some of that, I was listening to a podcast earlier, Football Weekly, right? And I've forgotten the gentleman's name, and he was saying, you know, this is something along the lines of, this is a sad indictment as one of the major nations. And I would have loved to be there and say, yeah, but what makes England a major nation in football? Like, if we just take it factually, right? A lot of these lines we've drawn, I'm not going to lie, it's giving the football version of colonialism. I'll be honest. No, because
No, it's right.
you haven't won anything since 1966, right? And before this recent 3 tournaments, the last time you reached a final was what, 1990?
No, that's semi-final. The last final was 1966.
What was the
before-
United 6 semi-final as well?
Yeah, semi-finals and quarterfinals before the Euros.
So all this major football stuff is just money. We've got England have got the Premier League.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago, I think I said last week, where Southgate was complaining that actually in the top teams in the Premiership, we weren't getting young English players anyway. So even just saying, oh, as one of the major footballing nations from an international team point of view, no, you're not. If we're really honest, you're not. England's not a threat in that respect. And you know, almost semi-final appearance for even just semi-final for the large majority of England's time as a nation was a rarity.
Yeah,
absolute rarity. So where is this all as one of the major football nations? You're not one of the major football nations.
The self-entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a good appointment. I think he'll do well with the players. He knows the media in England, so I don't think that will rattle him at all. Like, he spoke very well in his press conference.
Yeah, he's managed in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I hope he does well, man. Like, you know, I'm a big England fan, and yeah, I hope he. Like, it's weird that he's not taking charge until January, so he doesn't pick his first squad until March. But
I think it's a campaign thing. I think he's going to start with the World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, but he'll be in Carsley there for the squad that I picked next month anyway. So.
Exactly, and I'll be surprised if he's not taking his view, etc. But it's just interesting the reactions these things bring out in people. And again, you think about something like Gary Neville. You were part of a coaching staff that lost to Iceland at a major tournament. You just think you're not a great advert for
with
the
a
quote-unquote pathway.
English-based coaching staff.
Of course. Roy himself, you're not a great advert for the pathway, mate. And I think, again, I'll say it time and time again, the lack of humility or the lack of self-awareness that some of these pundits show, and they want to talk a lot about the money and influence in the game. I think the other conversation we need to have is how the amount of money that is now available from opining on the game, you know, punditry, etc., is actually colouring the view and the output we get from these guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just trying to find the name of the assistant that Tuchel was bringing in. Because Anthony Barry.
Yep.
So he's a guy that worked with Tuchel at Chelsea.
Yep.
Who's going to be his assistant in England.
No one's talked about that.
And one of the pods I was listening to was like, if Tuchel never got the job, how close would Anthony Barry ever be at working with England?
Yep.
And this is the thing, like, people are kind of missing, aren't they?
Yep.
It's like, right, who are these people coming through? Well, there are coaches that elite managers like Tuchel have got eyes on their radar and bringing them in to kind of work with,
but they're not interested
rather than just the names.
But they're not interested in the nuance. It's all headlines. It's all alarmist. You know, and the scariest thing for me out of all of this is, I think some of them actually believe it. I think Gary Neville actually believes what he said. I think Jamie Carragher actually believes what he said. That's actually scarier than them saying, well, I've got my platform. This is the character I am, almost. Yeah. I'm going to play to it, you know? And I used to almost segregate them from the talk sports and all this. They're just all becoming one and the same.
Yeah, it's all merging.
Apart from a few places where it's you know, real thinking, properly thought out opinions, it's just all sensationalist now. And I just think the outrage is just unreal. These are not the kind of problems you solve overnight, right?
No.
So Tuchel being appointed today, it doesn't bring the issue to the forefront. It's almost like Tuchel being appointed has woken up everybody to this issue. This issue is not new. It's not new. And when you I'm going to look back, when you look back at the list of England managers, right? In terms of caliber and what they've done in the wider game, that's why I said they either should have just stuck with what they did with Gareth, because you could argue that worked. So again, Lee Carsley, promote him through. And maybe this is where the FA need to be a bit more transparent about their thought process. Because maybe they looked at it, and you don't want to be disparaging about the guy in public, but you're not ready. You don't have the qualities that maybe Gareth had that allowed us to trust him.
Yeah. And they said, I don't know why they came out and said it, but they said they interviewed 10 people and 2 of them were English. But Howe and Potter have both said they weren't interviewed. So now people are like, well,
I think Steve Cooper was one. So apparently people with certain sources say Steve Cooper was one. So if Tuchel didn't get it, so Pep was number 1 apparently.
Yeah, because they spoke to him in the summer, innit?
Yeah,
and he was like, nah, I want another year.
They spoke to him in the summer, and it wouldn't have been to take away immediately. It would have been to take over next. But apparently he wanted to see what City offered him, etc. Then they spoke to Tuchel, and if he didn't want it, the next person they were going to speak to was Steve Cooper.
Okay, fair enough.
Which again is not that far away from the Lee Carsley thing, because he came through the England setup, etc., etc. Then he stepped out into management. But yeah, if we take a little rundown, so obviously Thomas Tuchel now, Lee Carsley, caretaker manager, Gareth Southgate did the job for 8 years. Sam Allardyce,
one game.
Less said about him, the better. Got fired because he got
sting.
He ended up in a sting that didn't fare well for him. Roy Hodgson, he was only in the job for 4 years. It felt like a lot longer. He got to a quarter-final of Euro 2012, got knocked out the group stage at 2014 World Cup, and got knocked out the round of 16 in the 2016 World Cup. So not hugely successful. Stuart Pearce.
Was it Pearce? I thought I missed.
Yep. Caretaker in 2012 for 1 game. And let's be clear, Roy Hodgson has got amazing pedigree in the club game, but we're not talking about someone who...
he managed like Iceland and a couple other
South
nations.
Korea. Did he manage South
Korea? Maybe Switzerland or something like that, where he done okay. And I think that's why he got it.
Fabio Capello, again, got to 2010 World Cup. He managed for 4 years. 4 years? Round of 16. Steve McLaren, 1 year, didn't qualify for Euro 2008. Sven-Goran Eriksson, a lot of people were talking rubbish about him, but I'm sure I remember at the time when he managed, he was the most successful England manager since 66, I think, because he got to 3 quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Right? 2002 World Cup. And was it the 2002 World Cup? He lost. That was the Seaman goal, right?
Yeah.
So he lost to the eventual winners.
Ronaldinho.
And Peter Taylor was caretaker for 1 game. Howard Wilson was clear. So I'm going back to 1990-2000. Kevin Keegan was England manager for 1 year. Longer than that. So anyway, as I read off these names, this is not,
no well-beaters. Bar the foreign, because Capello and Sven had stellar club.
Well, I was going to say, so I think at the time Sven's club reputation was
Up
still
there,
good.
stop. Yeah.
And I think that's reflected in his performance. I think by the time they got Capello in, he was later on. You know, it's almost like getting Jose in now, right? Like
Yeah.
it was a bit later in his career. It wasn't exactly clear whether his approach still was effective. So that was a little bit, you know. But nobody here in the world of management, I would argue, was a tier 1 manager at that time when they were employed.
No, not at all.
Not one of them could walk into a top job in club management. So all of a sudden, this thing about, well, where are the English coaches, etc. At least these coaches, they were getting decent. They were getting a certain level of job. I don't know about Stuart Pearce, but
Stuart Pearce was under 21 manager for a bit.
There you
before,
go.
Yeah, I think that's
There you
why.
go.
Yeah.
there you go. So, you know, you went for Sam Allardyce at one point. Why? Even at the time, I said, why?
Against, I think Allardyce would have been a really good England manager, you know? Like, I really do. Just because his setup is game by game, innit? Like, he didn't really have like a special tactic. We could like, Arsenal come in, we're going to give Arsenal a bad day.
Yeah.
I think his England team would have been ugly, but so effective.
Well,
Like-
he let off the pitch stuff kind of.
Yeah, I know. It's a
But
shame.
again, it's just this. When I look for that list, I just think this expectation. Then when we look at quote unquote English coaches, no English coaches ever won a Premier League. Premier League has been getting 30-something plus years, right? And before everyone comes and talks about foreign managers, blah, 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 when did Arsene Wenger get here? 2002?
No, Wenger came in 97.
97.
Sorry, 96 or 97? 96,
97.
Yeah.
And for, you know, I would argue until late 2000s, I'll have a look, maybe
Yeah.
to 2010,
Yeah,
11.
the change was
It
like,
was a predominantly, you know,
yeah, like
non-
Julio came in like 97, 98.
yeah.
And that's, yeah. So the
then Benitez.
99's, early 2000s is when the foreign coach influx came. But before then, like it was, Sir Alex Ferguson doing his thing.
Yeah.
Smacking everyone up.
So again, Scottish managers were doing their thing for a bit. So the last English manager to win the Premier League is 89. Now everyone can say, why do you keep talking about that? Well, I said, well, you're lambasting them for going in the market and getting a foreigner. Fine. But at any point, if you went in the market to get an English manager, you were never getting anyone with Tuchel's credentials.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an English manager with Tuchel's credentials since when? So
Before
either
Wilkinson,
way,
yeah.
at no point would you have picked an Englishman apart from the fact that he's English, not because he's the best qualified person for the
Yeah.
job.
And that's not how you should operate.
Exactly. And they say, oh, well, what about the players? It's different. The players is representation. The manager's job is a job. It's employment.
Yeah.
It's two very different things.
Yeah, no, very true.
Two very different things. But I love it. I love the fact that, Daily Mail and those guys are in a froth. And again, Tuchel will suffer no fools when it comes to the media. And I think it's about time someone just put them in their place a little bit. Gareth said all the right things at all the right time. And I think he suffered for that a little bit. And it didn't help down the pitch. Again, his approach and how he looked at things wasn't exactly the most exciting and most revolutionary. But yeah, I think it's another week where the English media, sporting media, the English football alumni showed their asses a bit, if I'm honest.
Yeah, they need to have a look at themselves and think about what they want to do to fix the issue rather than just complain about the issue.
Because in 18 months' time,
we could be back in the same spot.
of course, 100%.
And I think we will be.
Yeah, 100%. Because even if he wins the World Cup, I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think either way, if you're Thomas Tuchel, you just leave. If you win the World Cup, leave. You're not going to do any better.
Yeah.
And if you don't win it, leave. And depending on the journey to you not winning it, you've put yourself in a fantastic shop window. And you go and get another top job.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe the Man United job is available at that time or whatever else. You go get yourself another top job.
And then the question is, what potentially could an English manager do in 18 months to make them warrant getting the job if he does leave after the World Cup? Like, there's not much probability
well,
of
I honestly think Lee Carsley carries on as he was doing. He won the under 21s World Cup, keeps nurturing that team. It should be his job.
yeah. I think the 21 tournament is next summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
Should be his job. That's
yeah,
my
it could
opinion.
be. Yeah, let's see.
All right. Well, another week, another episode. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.